Hello, and welcome to today's Shorts Roundtable. I'm Paul Sloop, the short films programming manager for the Cleveland International Film Festival, or better known to most of you as the Shorts Guy. I want to take a moment here to offer special thanks to PNC for sponsoring our Filmmaker Conversations content throughout the festival. On today's roundtable, we'll be joined by filmmakers representing some of the short films included in Shorts Program 6. So with that in mind, allow me to welcome our guests to today's conversation. Thank you all so very much for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time. The first thing I'm going to do is ask each of you, starting up with Dana and Chris, to introduce yourselves, your film, what you did on the film, and where you're calling in from today.
Great. Sure. Hi, I'm Dana White, and this is...
I'm Chris Knobloch.
And we're both co-directors on the film Turning Blue, the short film Turning Blue, and we're actually calling in today from Cleveland, actually.
Yibi?
Hi, my name is Yibin Jiang. I'm currently in Los Angeles. I'm the director for a short animated film, Wind Up.
Hi, my name is Kevin Maxwell. I'm the writer and director of the short film called A Beautiful Nightmare. I'm calling in from Los Angeles, California.
Hi there, I'm Nee Boleta, and I am the writer, producer, and star of Slayed by Divya.
Again, thank you all for being here with us today. And I'll get the conversation started by asking each of you to let us know what was the inspiration for the making of your film, what led to the making of it, and or how you came to be involved in the making of your film. And again, we'll start with Dana and Chris.
I think I'm going to give that one to you.
Okay. So Turning Blue is actually based on a true story. It's really about the death of my mother. Chris and I are a wife-husband filmmaking team, and my mom was transitioning. I took care of her for about 2 years full-time. We both did.
Yeah.
And we drove her across the country to Cleveland. Actually, she was quite ill, and after we got here, about 5 days after we got here, she passed away. And we had been caring for her for a long time. And I'm an only child, so she was my everything. And so the grief was just a bit too much to bear. So as artists do, when we're in so much grief, we create. So we decided to write a film about the transitioning of her life.
It's such a beautiful film, and I have to comment that the way I watch films as a programmer is I don't read or anything about a film. I just watch the film. And then I'll look into it afterwards. So yours was one of those little pleasant surprises. I'm like, that was such a good film. Oh, wait, that was made locally? That's sort of like an exciting revelation to get when you get the little bonus at the end. So thank you for sharing the film.
Yeah.
Thanks for having us.
My turn? Wind Up actually is inspired by my own personal experience too. I was often sick when I was a kid, but my memory of those days kind of foggy. But on the other hand, from my parents' perspective, the event was way more serious. They told me they spent countless nights taking care of me and fighting their own emotions. I didn't know why they were so worried when I was kids, but as I got older, I started to empathize more with my parents. And since I moved to US and far away from home, it makes me the one who always worry about them. Especially recently, it's because Wuhan is my hometown. Like quickly after the news, the whole city shutting down. I got the word that my uncle had to stop the cancer treatment because the overwhelming COVID patient, and both my cousins still need to work in the hospital, where half of the coworker already infected. Like, I video chat with them as often as I could, but once the camera turned off, all the horrible thoughts just rushed back in. And that was the time we were crunching for this film. I remember we were animating the hospital sequence when the father character feels like hopeless and sits on the floor. At that moment, I could totally empathize his pain. I guess this is a good example of life imitates art, especially now at the time, like when people around the world are isolating and craving for connection, also preoccupied with the health and well-being of the loved ones. I think the story of Wind Up is pretty relevant.
It's such a beautiful animated film. We're so glad to be able to share it. Kevin.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here again. This is great. My film, just like Dana's and Chris's and Yabing's, is inspired by a true life story of my twin brother, Daniel, who was an accomplished dancer. He was an academic. He went to college to study neuroscience and dance. And about 2 years into his college experience, he came home and he was dealing with what we would later find out was undiagnosed schizophrenia. And what you'll see in the film is the first time he came home from college, and my dad was fighting with the doctors and mental health department trying to get him help, and he couldn't. He was getting sent in circles, and he couldn't figure out what was going on with my brother. So what you'll see is you won't see me in the film. You won't see my grandmother, my other siblings in the film, is because what you see is what we saw. We were the witness. And what I focus on is that sort of intimate connection and the intimate moment that my father and my brother had, because it was such a beautiful connection that they had. And over time, things just got challenging over time. So the film is a little dark. It falls on the dark side, but that's what it's inspired by ultimately.
It's haunting, but it's quite beautiful too at the same time. Really well done telling that story.
Thank you.
Nee.
Hi. So as a filmmaker, I'm motivated to tell female-driven stories. So for this project, I wanted to celebrate a character that I hadn't really seen in television or film. I was really inspired by various hairstylists in my life who displayed creativity, entrepreneurship, but you never really saw that story. So I was inspired by these experiences as a client and created Slayed by Divya to sort of give more people a glimpse into this world, just pull the curtain back to anyone who doesn't know much about Black hairstylists. And I wanted to celebrate them and give it an authentic touch. And it was an incredible experience to be able to do that. And I think that it's something that people from all walks of life can appreciate, someone just pursuing the all-American dream and really just moving themselves ahead.
It felt very current, very relevant, and your performance was outstanding, really.
Oh, thank you. Thanks so much, Paul.
I would then ask you all to consider this for a moment. For our second question is, if there was one thing you would want our audience to know about the making of your film, or a story that happened in the process of making your film, what would be that story you'd choose to share? And again, we'll start with Dana and Chris.
Oh no, I'll let you take that one. Do you have anything? Wow, his story. I guess it's the cross country, right? Do you want the cross country?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Well, so, we lived in Los Angeles for about 20 years and then came out to Cleveland, and we brought my mom with us. And she, as I mentioned before, she was dying while we were traveling. And so the film
that's not part of the funny.
No,
aspect of the story.
but the story was, it was one of those really sort of crazy times in one's life where the stakes could not have been higher. And I guess it's sort of the background of the film, even though it's not in the film, but it was just, we literally got in an RV with our dear friend who came out to help us, and we brought her across the country with 5 cats in an RV and drove from Los Angeles all the way to Cleveland with my mom on oxygen, and it was intense. I mean, and it was a beautiful experience because my mom was a go-getter, and I think Kathleen Chalfant plays her beautifully in the film. Kathy Chalfant is one of the gems of New York stage for sure, and also TV and film. She's an extraordinary actress, and she brought to life that character so beautifully.
Yeah, she did.
But we, to actually bring my mom across the country was pretty intense, and it really was the inspiration for
Yeah.
the movie, even though it's not in the movie, but it was the inspiration for the movie.
Yeah, and one other thing was that, you know, we kind of added to that high wire act when we were shooting it. Not many people actually notice what we don't like to advertise it, but we shot the film in one take. So
Wow.
not many people noticed that, but we wanted to really capture that, and that really kind of introduced some really interesting challenges we had to do. We had to globally light the whole house, the whole downstairs, and then to just kind of do it in one take. And that was we had an incredible team that was working with us on this, so we were able to make that happen. So it was a really intense experience.
Yeah. And we were very blessed because we had an enormous amount of Cleveland, you know, really just killer people that worked on it. And so we were so lucky.
Yeah. Yeah, we shot the film at the house where we live.
At our house where we live.
So it was a pretty intense experience.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Look at that.
Thanks for sharing that. That's great. Yibby.
The thing I want to share is like because animation film is involve a lot of people. Our team actually is from a team of artists from all over the world, around 10 different countries, and we have totally around like 20 artists. And also, this film is made on the game engine and it's run real time. We want you guys play video games, you know the graphic quality of that, and we want to achieve like feature film quality. So we have half of the people from AAA games. AAA is like console games, and half of the team is from the feature film like Pixar and Disney, and which means like half of the people know game engine, how to deal with game quite well, and half of the people know precisely how to achieve feature film quality. However, this is our first time collaborating with each other and try to use real-time engine to achieve film quality, which means make it harder. Like most of us are working at home, so we need to make sure the film can run smoothly on regular desktop. If it crashes on one person's computer, it affects the whole schedule. We need to find out who caused the problem and try to fix it as possible, because, you know, different time zones. You know, you can't, like sometimes I have to call someone like in the middle of the night, like, hey, dude, you break the game. Sorry, people in China is working on this, so it's quite intense. You know, like if people working on traditional film, like animation film, you know that we need a render farm, and it usually takes hours to render one single frame. And if you do the math, we are millions times faster. So if that pushes us to the corner. If we want to do this, we have to try new things. We have to like figure out new features along the way. And but on the other hand, it's quite rewarding because we feel like we're changing the history of real-time rendering.
That's a great story for a film that looks really meticulous and perfect. It's
hopefully it can be a game.
Thank you.
Yeah. So first, I just want to kind of preface this. I'm a little tired, so bear with me. I might be a little short. I might take a little bit of time, so bear with me, please. So I think you know, the one thing that I want to share, it's like a thread of things in one thing. Hopefully that's fine. But yeah, so I made this film just like Dana and Chris while I was going through grief. My brother passed away, unfortunately, in February 2018. When I was on my way to a class, I got a call about him, you know, going into cardiac arrest and being in the hospital. And that entire year, I didn't take time to really properly grieve his passing. He was my twin brother, you know, so the entire experience was it was devastating to say the least, you know. And so when I got into USC, I was in a film class where every 5 weeks we do a film, but we have like these really really interesting limitations where it's like you spend about like $1,200 to $2,000 on a short film, which severely limits our locations, the scope of the production value, all of those different things. So I had to choose wisely what to really focus on, and that was just this really intimate, contained experience with my dad and my brother. And ultimately, focusing on that helped me. It was like cathartic for me. It was really, really cathartic. But what I experienced, I wrote it. I wrote it before I wrote like a few drafts before I started the class. But like I was the third film up. So being the third film in 10 weeks after the semester, you're dealing with finals, you're dealing with all those different things while I'm dealing with grief. At the same time, I'm dealing with my own issues of anxiety, all type of things like that. So when it came time to me to direct the film, I was like, I had this heart pounding, crippling, debilitating anxiety where I couldn't sleep at night. And so I would go on set off of 1 hour or 2 hours of sleep, and I had to direct the whole crew like this, and one thing that I can express is the power of teams and relying on our teams to get us through and push us through. So the team that I had from USC was incredible in helping me do that. And they helped get me through. And so like every post I write, every acceptance, I really, really thank my team for helping me push through this. It was, I'm really indebted to them. So that's one thing I could really share about the film.
It's a great story, and it illustrates something that I always say. One of the reasons I love film so much is that it is all the arts put together. So it's always a collaboration of all the different skill sets. And when you get it, that a lot of people ended up on the same page, came together to tell a story. That absolutely happened with yours. We fall in love with these films, and it's so difficult to make the choices, and we always end up blessed with such a great lineup. And so that's a great illustration of that story. Neat.
Yeah. So our project as well was the result of an extraordinary team. My boyfriend, Max Carlson, is the director, and he also helped me produce the project. His sister, Ruby Carlson, is a cinematographer. And also the music that I was fortunate to use for the whole project was by Laureen Chia, who I actually met as my hairstylist. So she's a hairstylist that is a musician. And I just thought, oh my God, if she says yes, this is perfect. And she's just so incredible. And I mean, she was one of the many stylists that inspired me just in terms of creativity, entrepreneurship, having other, goals and dreams as well. But the project took 3 days to shoot. We were working all day, but we had a great team, and truly everyone contributed to this, and I'm so grateful.
Yeah. We're on that note. We're so grateful that you all took the time not only to join us today, but to share your films. Such a talented group of artists. Thank you so very much for being here with us today.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Awesome.
In addition to thanking our guests, we also want to thank you, our audience, for joining us for today's Shorts Roundtable. We wouldn't be here without your ongoing support to bring film home. We hope you'll consider supporting our challenge match again this year, presented by Cuyahoga Arts and Culture, to support the future of our festival. Our goal is to reach $145,000 this year, and we are so grateful in advance for any amount you're able to contribute. To make a donation or to purchase tickets or check out our full schedule of filmmaker conversations, please visit us at clevelandfilm.org. With that, please stay safe, stay healthy, and we'll look forward to seeing you back here again very soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.